when you listen to how powerful the U.S. military is, one carrier squadron, we have 7 carrier squadrons today, 2023. Each carrier squadron has more firepower than most countries do. And so when a little helicopter gunship goes up in the sky and they say we're going to call in an airstrike, you don't just call in an airstrike, you call in the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the Army. And what happens is we start coordinating it. That's what we're trained to do. That's what's called 8 Lessons of Military Leadership. In just a few hours, we wipe out thousands of people, men, women, civilians, everything. The B-52s of the Air Force would come over and they just open their bomb bay doors, and then the Navy would pound them with 16-inch guns. And then the Marines would go in, the Army would go in via helicopters. So the reason I talk about the Communist Manifesto is I saw communism in real life. And unfortunately, it's inside America today. And that's my big concern. Okay, our school systems are communist. I hate to say that, but that's why we have postmodernist education in school today. I mean, my family, Japanese, were locked up in prisoner of war camps in California. And my relatives in California were 100% Japanese. They got locked away. They had their homes, their farms, or everything taken away from them and locked up. And so my family, this is in World War II, I had 5 uncles. The way we get out of prisoner of war camps, they volunteered to form the 442nd Infantry Battalion. This is back in World War II. And the 442nd Army Infantry Battalion became the most highly decorated infantry battalion in U.S. history. And the reason is because we want to prove we're Americans. We weren't, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, but we're Americans. So I had 5 uncles fight in Europe against the Italians and the Germans, and I had 2 uncles fight against the Japanese in World War II. And one uncle was captured, and he got put in a POW camp. So the Japanese are very, very, and they don't talk about that one, because they locked up American citizens. And my uncles in Europe were the guys that freed Buchenwald, which was a Jewish prisoner of war camp. So our family has been fighting for most of it's part of our heritage. My class is samurai class, so we like to fight. So that's why I went to Vietnam so long. I thank you for the time, because I don't get to explain that too often. The Marine Corps and the Academy taught me a lot about life. That today in our, those woke schools and those snowflake schools, you can't hurt somebody's feelings and all this. Well, God almighty, what are we raising? In the Marine Corps, they're called pussies. Like Trump, he and I are good friends. We had disciplinary problems. So in '74, I was a Marine lieutenant, and I was stationed in Hawaii at the Marine Corps Air Station, Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And I started using my helicopter for fun and profit. And the Marine Corps did not take kindly to that. So I got my second court-martial. And well, it was the best thing that happened to me but it was good because I am now a stickler to obey the law, if you know what I mean. I was breaking the law. I mean, there's no way about it. You know that movie, Jack Nicholson, A Few Good Men? Mm-hmm. He goes, "You can't handle the truth." That's a classic line. So I was a Marine lieutenant sitting there, and the prosecutor, Captain Abrams, he says, "Hey, tell us the truth." And I was so sick and tired of lying, Vlad, because when the military comes down on you, they come down on you. And the investigations are tough. So I sat there one day, I couldn't stand lying anymore. So I said, "Captain Abrams," I said, "I'm going to tell you the truth." So I sat there for 3 hours, Vlad, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. At the end of it, I said, "How many years will I get?" And he just smiled at me, this little Jewish captain. He looks at me and goes, "Son, thank you for telling the truth. You'll have an honorable discharge in 6 months." And that's when I learned, Vlad, one of the most important lessons in life: the truth can set you free. And ever since then, I'm kind of a stickler on it. When I catch somebody lying, I get a little bit upset, because it doesn't do any good. So the Marine Corps was the best thing, but it took me getting court-martialed and coming to the truth, then getting kicked out. He gave me an honorable discharge. So it was a great experience all around, so that's how I learned. I learned the hard way. My rich dad said to me, I said, what do I have to do to be an entrepreneur? Because my poor dad wanted me to be a pilot, fly for the airlines and be an employee. And I didn't want to do that. He says that my poor dad says, become an employee, fly for United Airlines, which my classmates did, and then get your PhD. And I went, I don't want to do that. So I asked my rich dad, what should I do? He was my best friend's father. I want to be an entrepreneur like him and an investor. He says, you have to learn how to sell. Now, this is the interesting thing, Vlad. My poor dad and my family, because they're all PhDs, right, teacher, they thought salesmen were the scum of the earth. So when my poor dad, my rich dad said to me, you have to get a job in sales, I had to go against my poor dad again. Do you know what I mean? It's like the academic, the PhDs think salesmen are scum. So I went, oh my God, so I argued and bitched and moaned with my rich dad. And I said, I don't want to learn how to sell. I don't want to sell. Tell me something. Tell me what I can do. Go back to school. He says, you have to sell. And finally, Rich Dad said to me, he says, because I was arguing, he says, Robert, how's your sex life? Well, after I couldn't fly him into the deserted islands in Hawaii, my sex life was none. So I looked at my rich dad and I said, I don't have a sex life. Because you can't sell, you idiot. So with that, I went against, again, my poor dad's wishes, PhD, Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern, and I got hired by Xerox to learn how to sell. And so again, my poor dad was all upset because I became a salesman. So, I mean, that's the cultural difference between a rich man who was an entrepreneur and a poor man who was a PhD at schools. Because I joined kind of the New Ager group, you know what I mean? So again, I was crossing all kinds of lines, especially from the Marine Corps. I was joining the hip. One more thing is when I landed at Norton Air Force Base in 73, the hippies were out there, and I got hit by eggs and spit on by the hippies. They were protesting the military. It's called the baby killer and all that. And that's when I realized Marx's Communist Manifesto was coming true. Communist Manifesto said communism would invade America in 2 stages. So stage 1, the Communist Manifesto was written in 1848. And in 1930, Columbia University's Teachers College imported communist teachers from Germany. And they started teaching communism at Columbia University's Teachers College in New York. And that was 1930. In the 1960s, when I was at school in New York, that's when the first riotings broke out in school. Then there was Kent State, where they shot the students, and the rioting broke out against the war. So that's when I knew that communism had come to America via our education system, specifically Columbia University. So this whole thing I was watching history in the making, and I saw it for real life in Vietnam. I saw what Marx had written was coming true. So stage 1, in my opinion, happened in 1930. Stage 2 was when a media becomes communist. And I saw stage 2 when, this is my friend here, Donald Trump. And a lot of people hate the guy, but he's a great guy. I know him personally. And stage 2 happened of communism when social media took him down on, Twitter and all that stuff. We got censored, do you know what I mean? And censorship is very, very communist, the abolition of free speech. So we're in serious trouble right now when my friend Trump gets taken down by the ultra-rich liberals in Silicon Valley. And I don't care if you don't like the guy, but let him speak. It's the same as what we're doing, right? Let us speak.
Small ebook, big impact, the wealth tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.